Caddis Maximus here, this time with a quick review and just informational video about these ENP Kid Power or Spin Master branded bounce house ventilation fans. The reason I'm doing this video is there's almost no videos about these types of fans, bounce house fans, on YouTube at all. And so I like to add, when I see that there's a lack of videos about a particular subject, I use that as an opportunity to add my own. And secondly, to talk about these ENP fans specifically, because these are the premium ones, and they're really just a rebranded and repainted industrial ventilation fan. I should say blower fan. They're centrifugal, so they have the fan is a large disc, and it spins at I believe these are set up to run at 3,600 RPM. They are single phase or 110 volt induction motors, and they have capacitors. I don't know if they're capacitor run or capacitor start, but I believe they're capacitor run motors in them. And they are truly heavy duty, and so that's part of the point of the video, is to show that if you are getting a bounce house fan, or you do even have a bounce house, or any other ventilation duties, whether you use these for fume evacuation for welding or dust in a wood shop, these won't take wood chips like a big industrial, like a Delta wood vacuum. These things would work just fine for extracting any kind of dust for sanding operations and a variety of other things. What's really nice about these is that they move a huge amount of air. It's actually pretty hard to find the specifications. I wasn't able to find actual CFM specifications on these, but I know it is huge. And the other difference is, because they're centrifugal, they generate a large amount of vacuum. These don't have quite as much suction as a vacuum cleaner, but they are definitely quite impressive. And of course, they have a high amount of discharge pressure, which is nice because you can have lots of hosing connected to these, and they have a large pressure differential to force the air through, quite a bit of restriction. For people who are looking for nice bounce house fans, many people will know that bounce house fans, almost all of them, even the real premium ones, and some of these fans can cost a couple $100. They're not cheap. But they require airflow to go through the fan in order to stay cool. And what's really nice about these ENPs is they truly are cast aluminum housing, sealed or water-resistant industrial motors, which have their own separate integrated cooling fan. So even if this thing is completely clogged up, it won't overheat. And that's kind of a big deal. It's a safety issue. These do have integrated thermal breakers. If you ever have trouble with one of these not turning on, usually it's either the switch, a problem with the capacitor, or sometimes, and I've had that happen, actually it happened on this one, where that little thermal switch for some reason just decided to give up the ghost. It never overheated. It just turned on one moment, and then the next moment it wouldn't turn on, and that little thermal switch just decided to just call it quits. They are properly water resistant. They do have rubber boots sealed over the switches. The capacitor box actually has a seal sealing it to the motor. And then there's a seal with the back cap and front cap of the motor itself. And that's really the big deal, is that you get this cast aluminum self-cooled motor, so you don't ever have to worry about if some leaves or anything gets caught up in the intake of this fan, you don't have to worry about it overheating. It can run all day long with your hand right over the intake. Many bounce house fans use the air that flows through the fan to also cool the motor, and that's a big difference between those and these ENPs. These are also quite powerful. This is a 12-inch version rated by the diameter of the fan blade itself. It's 450 watts. It's a half horsepower fan. This big one, and the reason I can't even get it into the screen, is because it has an 18-inch blade. The overall height of this thing is almost 2 feet. And it has a 750 watt or 1 horsepower motor. And both of these move a tremendous amount of air. They also have nice heavy duty screens over the intake to prevent large objects, fingers and that kind of stuff from getting sucked into them, which I also really appreciate. They also had screens on the output, which can help some, but it's not as big a deal to have a screen on the output, because this is of course where everything's blowing out. It's very difficult to actually put your hand in there, but I did remove them, but normally they do come with extra safety screens. They also create a bunch of turbulence, a little bit of restriction, so that's why I removed the output screens on these. One thing that was annoying, it seems on the older ones like this one, they use special triangle screws to prevent tampering, which was frustrating. These things do get it caught into them. They do last a long time. You know, it's an induction motor. The only thing that wears out is the 2 ball bearings, which can be easily replaced because they are standard motors. They can be taken apart. They just have a special flange. Actually, I think it's more of a common flange for a surface mount, and they just made the special housing. On the smaller one, obviously, it seemed that they made some improvements, actually serviceability improvements. I wanted to point that out. On the small one, you can see where they actually embossed ENP on it, even though it has a Kid Power sticker on it. And then they just use standard hex bolts around here to make it easier to deal with. Also on the smaller one, this is a whole metal front cover with just some small 1/4-inch hex or 6mm hex fasteners, 6 of them, so you can just undo those fasteners and pull this off and easily clean out the fan. One other aspect of these that kind of shows their more industrial nature rather than being just for bounce houses is the fact that these fans have mounting plates on them with bolt holes. Both of them do. This actually has 4 bolt holes because it's a big one. This one only has 2 bolt holes down there, so they can be permanently attached to a variety of surfaces. So anyway, I kind of just wanted to do a quick video about both of these fans. They are distinctive because they are blue. And if you ever see one that isn't too beat up, oftentimes because these fans are associated with bounce houses, they get dropped and really beat up. These are the 2 I found. These don't show up very often, you know, used. It seems when somebody has a problem with their bounce house, they just throw the whole thing away, fan in the lot. So you almost never see these fans used. And the few that I have seen was either these 2 or lots of much cheaper all plastic yellow and green and purple and a variety of other colors. And these things really stood out as being much higher quality. And they're just great for a variety of uses because it's hard to find high flow, high pressure differential fans that have actual industrial motors on them, so you know that you can run them for all day long, for days and weeks on end. And if the bearings start to wear on the motor, you just buy 2 new bearings and pop them on, put them into the motor, and you're ready to go. I'm going to plug these in just to give a quick demonstration of relative power. I'll start off with the small one, and then I'll go to the big one here. I did want to mention, and I'll bring the other one in the frame when I test it out, but these things are true to their name. This small one probably weighs 15 pounds at least, 15, 20 pounds. You know, these industrial motors with the cast housings are not lightweight, and that bigger one probably weighs 20 to 30 pounds. It's actually surprisingly heavy. Here's a little noise warning, just because it is a powerful fan, but I'm just going to turn it on so you can hear it spin up and put my hand in front just so you can actually get an idea of how much power even this little 450 watt one, although 450 watts in a blower fan is quite a bit of power. We'll go and turn that off. This small one is it can move your skin around just a little bit, but it is surprisingly powerful. You actually have to put quite a bit of force over the front of it. And the amount of air that even the small one moves is quite excellent. It really would work great as a fume or dust extractor. And of course, another sound warning, this is going to be the 1 horsepower 750 watt version. This is the Spin Master branded one. And let's give it a run. Anyway, that was just a little video giving you a quick run, and I was actually pretty happy when I did research on these and found them. And when I was looking up bounce house fans, found how the ENP versions really are the premium fans. So that's kind of the point of this video. Anyway, I really appreciate everybody watching and subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. Until next time, Catus Maximus out.